Hello, everybody. My name is Cleo. I am a reader based out of Dublin, Ireland. And if you saw my last video, you know that I went over the Dublin Literary Award long list nominations. And so this week, I will be going over several of the British Book Awards shortlists. So the British Book Awards has a handful of categories, both in fiction and nonfiction. Today I'm going to be focusing on the fiction ones, so I'm going to be going over the Fiction Book of the Year, I'm looking at my tablet by the way, Fiction Book of the Year, Debut Fiction of the Year, Crime and Thriller Book of the Year, Romantic Fiction Book of the Year, Science Fiction and Fantasy Book of the Year. Those are the categories I'm going over today. I'm going over fiction. I'm not touching the nonfiction or anything like that. So let's get started. Before I get into it, though, I want to show you guys something that I found. So remember last week and the Dublin Literary Award? And remember how I said that there were a few books on that list that I wanted to read? I found one! This is Ordinary Saints by Niamh na Mhaoilinn. It's also a signed copy. I found it in Hodges Figgis. I'm so happy. Yeah, I found this in Hodges Figgis, so I will, in fact, be reading this. And yeah, I found it. This was the only. I also found There Are Rivers in the Sky, but I saw a signed copy of this, and I was like, oh, well, yoink. It's already got the little shortlisted for the Waterstones Women's Prize under Discoveries, so that's cool. It's Waterstone's debut fiction prize shortlist from, that would be 2025, I think, because Waterstones' shortlists haven't come out yet this year. Yeah, 2025. Does it say what month? I'm just nosy. Doesn't say in the actual thing, but whatever. But yeah, this would have been shortlisted in 2025. Waterstones doesn't come out for a while, I don't think, but it's been shortlisted for the Women's Prize, Waterstone's debut fiction prize shortlist, and a Radio 2 book club pick. It's also the winner of the PFD Queer Fiction Prize. Like, this is just a prize-winning book. So I'm really excited to read this. It's so pretty. It's so pretty, but I'm really excited to read this. I don't know when I'll read it, but I will read it. I'm very, very excited to read this. But anyway, this is not what you came here to hear me talk about. You came here to hear me talk about the British Book Awards. So we'll get back into that. And I will put this away. Okay, so first of all, what are the British Book Awards? So the British Book Awards, I have a little blurb here on the side here. This is from thebookseller.com. And the British Book Awards is also called the Nibbies, which I think is super stinking cute. But it will take place on the 11th of May. And so these will be announced on the 11th of May, which will be very exciting. So I wanted to go over the shortlist before then. So that's fun. And that will be... The awards will be held at the JW Marriott at Grosvenor House in London, and it will also be online. So I, in fact, will most likely be watching. Also, peep the mug. It's super cute. I got this at ViennaCon last year. One of my old roommates ran this through the dishwasher on the hottest setting and ruined the print on it. I'm so mad about it, but it's still cute. Anyway, they also have lists of, like, booksellers and, like, trade awards. But I won't be going over those today. I might go over those later, though, at a later date, if that's interesting. But I have the lists here on my side, and I also have them here on my tablet. So I'm going to read the titles out from my tablet, and I'll read the blurbs from the webpage. So we're going to start with the Fiction Book of the Year shortlist. We have Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie with Dream Count, which was also last week, as you probably saw, is nominated for is a long list contender for the Dublin Literary Prize. So that's cool and exciting. It was also a long list for the Women's Prize. I forgot to mention that last week. Then we have Friedrich Bachmann, My Friends. I am a huge Friedrich Bachmann fan. My mom is also a huge Friedrich Bachmann fan. My mom and I have a story about us listening to the audiobook of My Grandmother Said to Tell You That She's Sorry. We were on a road trip through the mountains at the time. So we were like somewhere in the Sierra Nevadas. It was snowing. The roads were a little icy, not too bad, but just a bit. And we were bawling our eyes out. And I'm like, Mom, we are pulling over. I am 14 years old. I can't drive. We are both sobbing our eyes out. We are going to crash the car. We are on a mountaintop. We are pulling over. We are crying our eyes out, and then we're going back. So we did that. I loved that book. My grandmother told me to tell you that she's sorry. So good. That was what introduced me to Friedrich Bachmann. I know my mom has read My Friends, and I'm actually gonna have to mention this to her because she will be delighted that My Friends is in a contender for the British Book Awards. Then we have Bold and Traitor by Philippa Gregory. This is going to be historical fiction, I can already tell. Anne Boleyn is very interesting. She's a very interesting woman. She deserved better than she got, but I would have to wait for Dylan to be here to be able to give you a more concrete like sense of who she was, because Dylan loves that period of history. He's very into that kind of like the scheming and plotting of royals. So I would have to wait for my pet historian in order to tell you anything about Anne Boleyn that I could be confident in, because I get all my information from my pet historian. Then we have Heart the Lover by Lily King. This was also longlisted for the Women's Prize for this year. So that's cool. And then we have The Rosefield, Book of Dust, Volume 3 by Philip Pullman. I love Philip Pullman. I loved The Golden Compass. I loved that series so much. So I haven't read the new series, The Book of Dust, yet, but it sounds so good. I haven't just had a chance to like dive into it. I want to reread his Dark Materials. I want to reread his Dark Materials first, and then I'll read this, but I haven't had a chance to reread his Dark Materials, so. And then there is Strange Pictures by Ketsu. This is going to be a translation, isn't it? I literally watched a video where Jack Ben Edwards talked about this book yesterday. I feel like I get all my information about like literary books from Jack Ben Edwards. This book is a murder mystery, and the way it's done is you solve it alongside the characters via like images and pictures, which I think is super cool. I really want to read this book. I saw one of the other books in this series. I saw Strange Houses at Hodges Vegas yesterday. But that's cool. Okay, so that's Fiction Book of the Year. I'm going to read the blurbs for each of these now. Are you excited? Are you ready? So, I'm going to read them in the same order. Dreamcamp. Fourth Estate set out to make the multi-award-winning author's first novel in more than a decade a literary event. With limited author time, each piece of media needed to make maximum impact. A sold-out event at the Royal Festival Hall, a BBC interview that aired across 3 channels and 3 major cover interviews. Okay, so this is about, like, how this is like doing sales wise. That's interesting. And like popularity wise. POS including enamel badges and tote bags helped make the book unmissable in bookshops. Dreamcount entered the charts at number 1 in its first week outsold the lifetime hardback sales of her previous novel. Holy shit. My Friends by Friedrich Bachmann, translated by Neil Smith. It doesn't actually say it on my tablet who they're translated by, so if there's a translation, I will cite it. 4 teenagers create a friendship so powerful it changes a complete stranger's life 25 years later in the 10th novel from Friedrich Bachmann. SNS planned a mini-UK tour for the media-shy Swedish author, his first in 10 years, which was so popular with readers that one event venue in Bath had to be upgraded 3 times to fulfill demand. Holy shit. The marketing campaign reached 675,000 potential readers, and sales of My Friends were up 287.97% on his previous hardback. What the fuck? Crazy. Bull and Trader. Not content with reaching Philippa Gregory's significant existing historical fiction readership, Harper Fiction pulled out all the stops to position Bull and Trader fans for fans of high-octane political thrillers, feminist retellings, and epic dynastic fantasy. Ooh. Reaching new readers involved high-spec special editions, sell into 4 supermarkets, as well as the high street, plus a 10-date theater tour. This paid off with over 10,000 pre-orders across all formats and a 50% increase in TMC sales from her previous hardback. Wow. Cool. I actually want to see what the actual blurb of this is. Oh, so this is about Jane Boleyn. Okay. So Jane Boleyn watches from the shadows of the Tudor court where secrets are currency, every choice is dangerous, and even the faintest whisper can seal the fate of queens. For Jane, survival demands playing every role required of her, a loving wife who conceals her doubts, a devoted sister to Anne Boleyn at the height of her power, and an obedient spy who carefully wields her words. But in a court ruled by ambition and a tyrant's sword, Jane must rely on her sharp wit and skillful maneuvering to outthink those around her, knowing that one wrong move could cost her everything. Philippa Gregory masterfully shines a spotlight on the untold story of Jane Boleyn, peeling back the myths to reveal a complex portrait of a woman who dared to survive at any cost. Perfect for fans of thrilling historical drama and readers captivated by the intrigue of the Tudor period, Boleyn Trader is a must-read. Huh! Interesting. Heart the Lover. Determined to break out U.S. author Lily King in the UK, Canongate began with a wave of proof mailings to generate huge word of mouth across the industry and beyond, and shared the wave of rave reviews across social media. When plans for a UK author visit were scuppered at the last minute, the publisher pivoted to more events online. Heart the Lover finished the year as one of the top 10 most reviewed books of 2025, and sales up 135% on the hardback of her previous novel. I want to see what the actual blurb of this is. This is a very long blurb, I'm not going to read this out. So it's about college friends, and it's about college friends, and it's about like the sort of bad choices we make and all this kind of stuff, and the good choices too, but it's about college days and like everything crashing down. That's cool. That's interesting. Next up, Book of Dust. An unmissable 96-sheet billboard at London's Broadway Market and the huge transmission screen at Waterloo Station announced the long-awaited final volume of the Book of Dust trilogy. The publisher partnered with Waterstones for 2 flagship events, St. James's Church in London and the Sheldonian Theatre in Oxford, which was live streamed. The cloth collector's edition slipcase was produced for Waterstones, and for indie bookshops, a bespoke edition with an exclusive piece of art from Chris Wormel. So it seems like these are all based off of like campaign, press tour campaign, which is, I think, is a very interesting way to categorize it. Strange Pictures, translated by Jim Rion. Indie publisher Pushkin moved quickly to acquire world English rights to this one-of-a-kind sketch mystery from a cult Japanese author, later selling North American rights for 6 figures at auction. Holy shit. Making a virtue of the fact that the mysterious author would not be available for press, the guerrilla marketing campaign included leaving copies on trains with stickers saying, "Read me." That, I gotta say, I would pick it up. I would pick it up. Strange Pictures has become the fastest title to reach sales of 100,000 copies in Pushkin press history and carved out a whole new genre. That's cunt as fuck. Yeah, I unfortunately would pick that up. I would pick it up. I would be the one who saw it on a train and be like, is that for me? Oh my god. So that's the fiction book of the year. Next up, debut fiction. We have The Boy from the Sea by Garrett Carr, The Names by Florence Knapp, Nesting by Roisin O'Donnell, House of the Wolf by Tony Robinson, The Artist by Lucy Steeds, and Fundamentally by Nusaiba Yunus. I don't know any of these books. I feel like I should know at least Nesting, though, because it was the On Post Irish Book Award winner for last year. I should know this. I worked for On Post last year. I should know this. Whatever. I will also go over the On Post Book Award list at some point. And it looks like these actually have a little bit more... Yeah, these have a little bit more actually about the books in them, which is very nice. So, The Boy from the Sea, set in a Donegal fishing community in the 1970s, told in the communal voice... Ooh, that's an interesting voice to do this through. Garrett Carr's adult fiction debut was snapped up by Picador in a 24-hour preempt. Holy shit. The author's personal connection to Donegal, his father was a fisherman, and his experience of writing with dyslexia, wow, provided a compelling hook for media coverage with reviews in every major UK and Irish publication. The Boy from the Sea was an Observer Best Debut of 2025 and was selected as a BBC Radio 4 book at bedtime. Okay, so Garrett Carr talking about being dyslexic in Ireland is very interesting because it's only recently that Ireland has actually started putting into place accommodations for those of us who are disabled in this way. Like my dad also had dyslexia. Even my cousin, who's 10 years older than me, they were not given any accommodations at all. They were made to still do Irish. They were made to redo math problems over and over because they wouldn't write out their work. I still struggle with that as well in math. I just don't write out my work because it's like, I know how I did it. It's right. Come on. Fuck you, man. It's like that kind of thing. So talking about that is going to be very interesting, especially in the context of it being Irish. Because it wasn't until recently that you could get an exempt from doing Irish for your leaving cert. Within the last 5 or 10 years. Like, it's not been very long. So, that'll be interesting. We have the names. Florence Knapp. Phoenix emerged victorious in the 13 publisher bidding war for the names, a book that ponders the question, can a name shape the course of a life? Phoenix pulled out all the stops in a campaign that began with an author-proof tour 2 months ahead of publication, interviews on BBC Radio 4's Women's Hour, and event slots at Hay, Edinburgh, and Cheltenham. Wow! So they went all out on the book festivals. The names finished the year as the best-selling debut in the general and literary fiction category, selling more than 92,000 copies in hardback through the TCM. It starts with a mother giving her child 3 names. And the way that these different names... Ooh, spanning 35 years, what follows are 3 alternate and alternating versions of their lives, shaped by Cora's last-minute choice of name. That's really cool. So how does your name affect who you become? That's cool. That's really cool. I think that's a really fun, exploration. Next is Nesting by Roisin O'Donnell. Acquired at a competitive 9-publisher auction, Nesting is a story of Kira's determination to extricate herself from an abusive husband and build a new life for herself and her children amid the housing crisis in Ireland. Like everyone else. Scrivener flagged Nesting as a lead debut from the beginning, resulting in extensive review coverage. A Fane event with Laura Bates reached more readers, as did a 6-episode sponsored read on the How to Fail podcast, helping extend sales well beyond launch. Cool. Next up is House of the Wolf. I've noticed that these are all very Irish. This is very interesting. This is all very Irish. Don't know what to make of that. Like, half of these are Irish so far. I don't know what to make of that. Sure. I mean, a little bit of viewpoint into how publishing works here in Ireland. A lot of times, publishing rights here are UK-Ireland rights. So, you publish something through O'Brien's, which is an Irish publisher, right? They're gonna sell and market to both Ireland and to the UK, right? When people get their UK rights, it also sells into Ireland. Right. So that's like a huge thing that I think I need to like clarify, is that these people are not like traders or anything to like their Irish heritage. It is just by virtue of how publishing works here in Ireland. There are only a few like Irish publishers. So a lot of times we go through UK publishers, and then it just gets sold into Ireland anyway. So I would say it's the one good thing to come out of colonization. Shh. Okay, House of the Wolf by Tony Robinson. Set amid the struggle for succession in Anglo-Saxon Ireland, the debut novel from the presenter of Channel 4's Time Team and star of The Black Adder was launched with a spectacular cover reveal, viewed over 67,000 times. Video content of the author recorded at Sutton Hoo, and a behind-the-scenes audiobook recording was used across social channels. In person, Tony Robinson undertook a 7-date Fane tour from Baldric to Alfred the Great to reach fans and readers across the UK. I feel like Dylan would like this book. The Succession in Anglo-Saxon England? Yeah, this is a Dylan book. This has Dylan written all over it. I'm gonna have to make him read it. Then we have The Artist by Lucy Steeds. A full 8 months after publication, The Artist hit the bestseller lists, a testament to the faith and tenacity of the team at John Murray Press. The initial sales were modest until the novel was shortlisted for a significant prize, which was the Waterstones Debut Fiction Prize. At which point the team went back to pitch for slots that had originally turned down the book. The Artist won both the Waterstones Debut Fiction Prize, the best-selling winner to date, and later scooped the Waterstones Book of the Year. Huh. I'm assuming this is fiction about... Okay, so it looks like it's a mystery. Like a murder mystery about an artist. That sounds really fucking cool. Okay, and then we have Fundamentally by Nusaiba Yunus. A dark comedy about... Oh! Okay. A dark comedy about de-radicalizing ISIS brides might sound like a tricky proposition, but Weinfeld and Nicholson, convinced of both the author's comedic genius and the author's impeccable credentials as a peace-building practitioner and a globally recognized expert on contemporary Iraq, fought in a fierce 8-way auction. The distinctive cover reflected both the humor in the book and the dynamic between the two main characters. I should add that the cover shows one woman's eye, like through a niqab, and the other woman's eye through a lens of a pair of sunglasses. That's what they mean by the dynamic of the cover. Um, and the marketing campaign spread the word with bold messaging emphasizing the same. What a concept! What a concept! That sounds so interesting. It also sounds like a terrifyingly sensitive topic. So, next is Crime and Thriller Book of the Year shortlist. So, we have Dan Brown, Secret of Secrets. Obviously, Dan Brown's going to be on this list considering he published a book recently. We have Death at the White Hart by Chris Chinball. We have The Tennis by Frida McFadden, which I'm pretty sure Frida McFadden has been in, like, some scandal recently. Yeah, Frida McFadden's been in some scandal recently, like, for possible plagiarization, and also, like, I'm pretty sure she's also in, like, the shit for, stuff about, like, yeah, there's been, like, some scandal about, like, oh, is she plagiarizing? Is she, like, copying stuff? Which I haven't read any of her books, so I couldn't tell you. I just do want to, like, disclose that I am aware of, like, the current discourse going on around Freida McFadden. Um, I can't say I support her. I can't say I am against her, because I don't know. I haven't read her books enough to know. Um, but I haven't read her books to know. But yeah, no. The Tenant's on this list, probably because it sold really well, because she's got a good sales team. And then we have The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman. I love this book. And then we have A Case of Mice and Murder, which I actually own and I really want to read, by Sally Smith. So those are our picks. Let me tell you about their press tours. Dan Brown, come here. One of the biggest names in thriller writing, Dan Brown returned after an 8-year hiatus with The Secret of Secrets, the sixth novel to feature Harvard symbologist Robert Langdon. Bantam produced a slick modern package which reminded his core readership of the Da Vinci Code while also introducing his work to a new, younger audience. It is no secret that the thriller hit number 1 in the charts and then spent 17 consecutive weeks inside the top 10. This doesn't surprise me at all, no. Then we have Death at the White Hart by Christian Bull. Chibnall. From the pen of award-winning screenwriter Chris Chibnall, Death at the White Hart is set in the picturesque village of Leecombe and tells the story of a tight-knit community hiding dark secrets. The publisher focused first on building regional support in Dorset and the Southwest, the author's home, and the setting for both of his hit TV series Broadchurch and the book, so he's the writer of Broadchurch. I have high faith in this because Broadchurch is amazing. A launch day segment filmed against the Broadchurch cliffs was picked up by BBC Breakfast. Stocked by retailers from supermarkets to indie bookshops, Death at the White Hart was the best-selling crime debut of 2025. Freida McFadden with The Tenant. With no fewer than 9 thrillers in the official UK Top 50 of 2025, Freida McFadden is dominating the genre, and with The Tenant she enjoyed the strongest opening week sales of her career to date. Tapping into book talk and digital reading communities, the influencer mailings were sent to carefully selected content creators with a combined reach of over 813,000 followers. Partnering with true crime podcast They Walk Among Us, 60-second ads targeted to clued up genre-specific audience. That's actually a really smart way to give do ads for a crime novel. God of the Woods by Liz Moore. With modest sales of US author Liz Moore's previous books in the UK, the publisher prepared to break out her latest literary thriller by treating it like a debut. A cinematic trailer captured the thriller energy and the stunning Adirian DAC setting and was repurposed for Meta and Amazon advertising with a huge outdoor campaign across train stations and TfL. The God of the Woods ended this year with sales up 1,932% against the previous paperback. Jesus. Richard Osman How to keep the fifth book in a series feeling as fresh as the first can sometimes be a challenge, but not so for Viking. Harnessing the release of the star-studded Thursday Murder Club film on Netflix, collaborations with TikTok creators translated into film buzz into book discovery for younger readers, while the spot on the one show for sofa for Richard Osman drove over 1,000 sales in a single hour. The Impossible Fortune was the best-selling book of 2025, spending 13 weeks in the overall top 10. Amazing. And then A Case of Mice and Murder. Raven Book's first ever cozy crime series launched with A Case of Crime and Murder, a debut introducing Edwardian barrister Gabriel Ward KC. The distinctive cover was inspired by photographs taken by the designer on a visit to Inner Temple. The marketing campaign was one of Bloomsbury's biggest of the year, reaching more than 7 million people, including a full digital takeover of the Daily Mail. And the publisher partnered with book club app Novelic to create a shareable reading guide to the series. Huh, that's cool. I really want to read that. I just saw it in Hunter's Figures one day. I was like, I'm going to take that. And then we have two more sets. We have romantic fiction and sci-fi fantasy. So we're doing romantic fiction next. So we have Strawberry Patch Pancake House by Laurie Gilmore. We have Our Sweet Violet by Rosie Goodwin. We have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. We have King of Envy by Anna Huang. We have An Almost Perfect Summer by Jill Mansell. And we have All Together for Christmas by Sarah Morgan. Let's talk about the publishers. One More Chapter has grown Laurie Gilmore, Strawberry Patch Pancake House, from a TikTok debut into a romance brand. The publisher cooked up their biggest marketing campaign ever for the Strawberry Patch Pancake House, delivering deluxe influencer marketing and high-impact outdoor advertising. They built Gilmore's profile, establishing a reader community on Facebook and a website alongside a dedicated newsletter. Brilliance paid off. The Strawberry Patch Pancake House was a whole market #1 on its first week. I own the autumn-themed one. I can't remember the name of it, but the autumn-themed one. I have that one. The, pumpkin one. I own that one, and I want to read it. Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I own the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I really want to read it. It seems super cute. I like stuff like this. I know I don't look like it, but I like stuff like this. So, and then we have Our Sweet Violet by Rosie Goodwin. Rosie Goodwin returns to the awards shortlist this year with Our Sweet Violet. Zephyr executed a no-holds-barred approach, launching the campaign 18 months ahead of publication and assembling a departmental team to focus on the title. A fun collaboration with the clothing brand Popsy and community events in Goodwin's area helped secure her highest pre-orders to date and her best ever week 1 performance in both hardback and paperback. Cool. Emily Henry. Obviously, Emily Henry is going to sell like crazy because it's Emily Henry. Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life, orange and pastel drenched cover was unmissable in the bespoke outdoor displays that Viking created in 3 UK cities. The team delivered their largest campaign for Henry yet and achieved her best hardback chart performance. Key Hen fans were rewarded, and Viking broke through the competitive media landscape with winning interviews in the Sunday Times and Fiona Cotton's Happy Place podcast. King of Envy by Anna Huang. Anna Huang's dark billionaire romance King of Envy debuted at the top of the charts thanks to Piatkus's ambitious campaign, which engaged retailers and influencers alike. The latter were treated to a covetable proof box, while a special edition was created with the works. A midnight release party and an original song were just some of the standout incentives that helped secure a 32% increase in first week sales against the last in the series. An Almost Perfect Summer by Jill Mansell. Ornamented in playful pink, An Almost Perfect Summer marked a strong 30-year relationship between Jill Mansell and Headline. The team got into the summer spirit for this Cotswold set romance, organizing the first summer reading with Jill Mansell campaign. They also catered to Mansell's core audience and grew her newsletter subscribers by 54%. An always-on approach to the campaign made this feel-good romance a hit. Sarah Morgan's All Together for Christmas. Sarah Morgan's festival romance was... my brain turned off. Sarah Morgan's festival romance was the only one of its ilk to hit #1 in the charts. HQ auctioned a fun It actioned a fun, inventive strategy that appealed to Morgan's core readership while expanding her appeal with her first influencer event. Premium book space was secured across supermarkets, and altogether for Christmas racked up an 104% increase on pre-orders compared to Morgan's last festive outing. I will say, before I get into the science fiction and fantasy, I don't know how I feel about the fact that this is clearly predicated on marketing campaigns. I don't know how I feel about that because a marketing campaign is not inductive of like if a book is good. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know how I feel about it. If they're qualifying what wins based off of if it's good, that's fine. You know, if they're just picking out who they're gonna like dig through based off of who it's good, that's one thing. I am a little worried though that this is a bit pay to play. I don't know enough about the British Book Awards to know if that's the case or not, but it does like sort of like I'm getting a little ping of like pay to play, pay to play. I don't like that. But I also don't know if it really is or not. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that this is like a lot of these books are popular, right? But I've also heard very mixed things about a lot of these books, right? And based on the fact that the website is saying all these things about like the marketing campaigns, I don't know. And I don't know if this is just the bookseller and how the bookseller is categorizing things and if it's different, if it's actually categorized otherwise, but it does make me feel a bit weird. I am worried that this is a bit pay to play, but you know, I mean, publishers don't put this much money into books that they don't think will sell, right? It's not about if a book is good. It's about if the book will sell. So they'll put it behind big authors. That's why I'm kind of glad that there's a debut section, because it would be very easy for a marketing award like this, or what appears to be a marketing award like this, to just like ignore all debut authors. So I don't know. I don't know, but it'll depend on how they categorize who wins. Because if they're just pulling like the best marketing campaigns out for the shortlists, great, cool. That doesn't matter. What I care about is that how you're qualifying the winners. Because if that's how you're qualifying the winners, then why do you have a shortlist? Right? Because that's bullshit. So I'm really hoping that because with that case, you can just like have the metrics and you declare who wins. So I'm hoping that this is actually based off of like what's good. Anyway, let's get into the science fiction and fantasy book of the year shortlist, which is the last shortlist that I will give you today because I'm not going to do the nonfiction. It's all memoirs. I don't like memoirs unless it's like a memoir about someone I like. Like I really want to read Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. I really want to read that, but also I think Jeanette McCurdy is really cool. I don't just read memoirs to read memoirs. Anyway, the science fiction and fantasy book of the year shortlist. The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Ice by Jacek Ducage. Brimstone by Callie Hart. Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. Alchemized by Sin Lin Yu. And Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yaras. I will not be going over Alchemized. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go over something that... I'm not even going to read whatever they have to say about Alchemized because I'm not going to go over something that in any way, shape, or form promotes She Who Will Not Be Named. Mm-mm. We're not doing that. I'm going to skip over Alchemized. No, I'm not going over that one. Sorry. If you were hoping I would, sorry. No, I'm not gonna give any airtime to someone who has to someone who's actively supporting the woman who is paying for all of the anti-trans legislation in the UK and therefore all the anti-trans legislation in Ireland. Because what the UK does, Ireland tends to do a little bit afterwards. So sorry, not happening. Not happening. That out of the way. Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Joe Abercrombie's grimdark caper through medieval Europe sees an unlikely host of paranormal and fantastical characters band together to put a princess on the Trojan throne. The Devils was treated to 4 exquisite special editions, 3 different proofs, and a huge influencer mail-out. Golands also collaborated closely with Waterstones on exclusive social media content. The Devils was Abercrombie's biggest hardback launch ever and his first Sunday Times #1. Oh, that sounds actually pretty cool. Ice by Jacek Ducaj. Publishing Jacek Ducaj's door-stopping science fiction novel Ice was a Herculean effort. Also, translated by Ursula Phillips. Ducaj considered the novel untranslatable, but after the head of Zeus acquired the text in 2017, they ran a competition with the Polish Book Institute to find the translator. The inimitable Ursula Phillips translated the novel over 7 years, and the campaign for the long-awaited novel leaned into the story's complexity with a standout event with Ducaj at the British Library. That's really cool. I can see why someone would be like, I don't know that this can be translated. Like, there's certain, like, things that, like, happen in, like, a language that is really hard to translate. Like, colloquial things, you know? That's really hard to translate, so I can see why an author would be like, hey, I don't know. I don't know. And we have Brimstone by Callie Hart. Callie Hart's seductive romantasy Brimstone, the second in the Fae and Alchemy series, saw Hardscape run a suite of sleek digital campaigns, including film-style trailer on Amazon Prime. Publication was marked in style with a week-long celebration. Many bookshops opened their doors at midnight on publication day for eager readers. One lucky bookseller even won a holiday to the aptly named Brimstone Hotel as part of an exclusive competition. I would love to be that person. I'm gonna be so real. That would be so cool. Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. Do I own Catabasis? I don't remember if I own Catabasis or not, but I really want to read Catabasis. Fancy a trip to the underworld? R.F. Kuang's return to the fantasy genre was highly anticipated. Catabasis, a dark academia tale set in hell, amassed her biggest pre-order haul yet. Harper Voyager went to hell and back to make this a standout campaign, creating bold advertising and securing impressive media coverage. 5 beautiful special editions put this book all over social media, while Kuang embarked on a global tour that made Catabasis unmissable. Also, I don't know if it's Catabasis or Catabasis. I say Catabasis. Fuck you. And then we have Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yaros. Piatkus did not rest on their laurels and pulled out all the stops for the fiery third installment in Rebecca Yaros' Empyrean series, Onyx Storm. Capitalizing on Yaros' fandom, Piatkus organized an Onyx Storm Theory Day and asked readers to vote on the end paper design created for the book. They also coordinated a whopping 61 events to make Onyx Storm the fastest-selling science fiction fantasy title since records began. Holy shit. That doesn't surprise me at all. It is very popular. I have no idea how this is, like, qualified. Okay, so there are actual judges. There's a lot of judges. Wow. A lot of judges. Let's see, do I know any of these? Prue Leith! Sure! Why is Prue here? For those of you who don't know, she hosted the British Baking Show! The Great British Baking Show! What the fuck? Huh? Sure. This is sponsored by a bunch of publishers, partnered with a bunch of the festivals and stuff like that. This award seems to be pushing more towards, like, the way that, like, the whole of publishing, like, puts in effort, so not just the author, but also, like, the whole publishing, which is why they're focusing on the marketing campaigns so much and the publishing campaigns. The Nibbies, taking place on Monday, 11th May 2026, are here to celebrate your talent, your skill, and your value. The authors who craft exhilarating worlds for us to play in, the editors and agents who fight to publish the stories the tech bros don't want it to be heard, so they're pushing back against AI. That's good. From the booksellers to the librarians, the trade publishers to the indie presses, the designers and illustrators to the marketers to the publicists. That's why they're focusing on the book launch campaigns. We want to shout about every person with a passion for their product that goes way, way beyond the requirements of their role. Okay, that makes sense. That explains a lot. So they've also got, like, a bunch of nonfiction stuff, a nonfiction narrative, nonfiction lifestyle. They've got graphic novels. They've got Author of the Year. They've got Illustrator of the Year. Alif Shafik is on this list for Author of the Year. Freedom Kafadin is as well. Those are the only 2 authors that I know of. Oh! A.F. Stedman, who's writing the Skandar series, which is sort of a spiritual successor to, like, Percy Jackson. It's got audio, books, it's got children's fiction, like, all kinds of stuff. And then there are shortlists for the book trades. Small press, independent bookshop, publisher, bookseller, marketing strategy, book retailer, publicity campaign, editor in print, individual bookseller, library, literary agent, designer, award for export, rights professional, independent publisher, and publisher. So, like, they're really putting in, like, all the stops to celebrate the entire publishing situation. Okay, so maybe it's not so pay to play as I thought. Okay, so it's about effort, not money. That makes sense. And when that effort pays off, that makes sense. Okay, that's cool. That makes sense. But yeah. That's the British Book Awards, specifically all of their fiction shortlists for the year. If you want to see any other, me go over any other book awards, I'm sure I will go over Waterstones. I will go over Unposted's book awards as well, at some point. There are 60 books on that list. That is going to be a very long video. But if there are any other book awards you want to see me go over, if you want to whatever you want to see me talk about next in relation to the books. If you want me to do a deep dive on the publishing industry, I'm happy to do that. I don't know, just give me some guidance. I have too many ideas. I need to know what you guys want. So yeah, because I could talk about stuff I want to do all day till the cows come home, but at the end of the day, um, I need to know what you guys also want from me as well. So please let me know what you guys want to see from me next. Um, and in the meantime, um, I hope you have seen my vlog from last week. If you haven't, I sprained my foot. I sprained my foot. Go watch that to go see me go to urgent care. um, I am fine. I just sprained my foot, all is well. You'll have to forgive me if I don't do any videos where I'm like, oh, let's go like promote a bookstore or anything like that anytime soon, because my foot is in fact sprained and I don't think I could do that without being in a lot of pain. Sorry. So it'll have to be a structured video that is sat at my desk. Sorry. Anyway, I hope to see you again next time. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTubey things. And I will see you next time. Ta!